Damn, that's a pig. I'd have never found this pig. I'm very grateful, man. Thank you.
Searching for a deer with a tracking hound. Over the river and through the woods, across the field, this dog is good. Found a little blood in the wound bed, and tracking hound's telling me this deer is dead. Over the river and through the woods, across the field, this dog is good. Found a little blood in the wound bed, and tracking hound's telling me this deer is dead.
Thank you. This is why you call a dog.
Yeah.
Hello, friends, fans, and followers. Matt with Tales on Trails Deer Tracking. Joined today by Darren Miner. Darren, how are you, buddy?
Pretty good, Matt. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for coming on, man. I just one of my brain fart ideas, and I chew on it for a little bit and got the guts up to ask you, and sure enough, you couldn't have said yes fast enough. So I appreciate it, man.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for reaching out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're going to enjoy today's episode. We're, in today's environment, tracking world is what I should say. We're in a state of, I guess I'll call it a revolution, the technical revolution in tracking. It's been a hot topic that's been beat upside down, backwards, sideways, and debated and discussed from every angle. And that is using drones and the comparison between drones and dogs to recover deer. So, in the podcasts that are out there on this, I haven't heard all of them, but I've listened to many of them. Anyone that I can find, and I search for podcasts all the time. It's usually coming from a dog tracker's perspective only, or it's coming from a drone operator's perspective only. And you can imagine that there is biased either way. I would be too, as only a dog guy. I don't have the experience with drones, so you're just naturally, inherently going to be biased towards what you know. And as I've chewed on this, I thought, what a great discussion it would be to have somebody on who operates both in a state that allows both, who tracks with dogs and searches with drones, and talk about not in a one's better than the other way, but talk about very objectively and very candidly, I'm hoping, the differences, the benefits, the pros, the cons of both. I'm not here to pass judgment. I'm a dog guy because I am. I can barely spell drone. I think they're cool as crap. But I'm really excited to talk to you or have you tell us about your experiences in some depth of detail. Kind of in our pre-show, I was talking about, the podcast that we do get, people they'll gloss over a subject, or they'll talk about it very topically in a 30-minute podcast, or a 10-minute segment in an hour-long podcast. And what I want to do is talk about it in a depth of detail. And then obviously you're the resident expert on that, so we'll turn it over to you. But before we dive into the drones, Darren, and the dogs, because it's not just a drone podcast, it's dogs too. Mm-hmm. I want to talk about the dogs. I would like for you to share with the listeners just the many tentacles you have in the tracking world, because you are, we talked about it in pre-show, you are you've got a lot of tentacles in the tracking world, and I would love for you to just share what those are and how you operate them, and tell us about tell us about your stuff, where you're tracking. I'd like to hear a little bit about your tracking season. You as your tracking background, years experience and stuff like that. And just basically, I want to just turn it over to you and sit here and go, oh, that's cool. And let you share information about you before we get into the,
Sure.
the topics, Darren. So Darren, I'll turn it over to you, buddy.
Okay. Well, again, thanks for having me, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here and talking to you, and maybe clearing the air a little bit about the dog versus drone versus dog, whatnot. My name's Darren Miner, and I'm in Maryland. It's where I track. This is my home state. We just finished up our 5th full season, Fritz and I. I also track in Southern Pennsylvania and Northern Virginia. We did, as far as tracks per year, we did 58 this year.
Oh, nice.
Little light on the number of tracks, but I screen, and I don't take every track. If I wanted to, I mean, and it put it in perspective, I probably get 500 or 600 calls a year to track. I'm still working full time, so I take what I can, and what I do take, I expect going to a dead deer. So in addition to the tracking with Fritz, a lot of people know me, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners have had the scent shoes. Pretty much all over the social with the scent shoes. Training season's coming up, and I just ordered 3 new boxes today, so we're ready to go if you need them, and you can have them in about a week. So we sell the scent shoes. I'm all over social. I have a YouTube channel that's doing pretty well as well. So I have a few irons in the fire, so to speak. I'm pretty busy, usually working on something tracking related just about every day. Yeah.
So let's back up a little bit, Darren. So you have the scent shoes. Tell folks what they are, so they may have heard it or they know what to ask for.
Yeah. So I import the Waskow scent shoes from Germany. I do not make them. I import them. I was a user of them before I bought them. Saw that there was no real easy way to get them. Even when I bought them myself for the first time, you had to do a wire transfer, and it took about 4 weeks. They don't accept PayPal. They don't accept credit card, Venmo, no e-banking in Germany. It was a wire transfer. And actually, it still is today for me to get them. I have to wire transfer funds to get them to distribute here. So I saw a real need for that. And I think it's been about 4 years now. I've been selling them and trying to get people, what the equipment that they need to train their dog. So
let me interject right there a minute, Darren. So the first time I think I heard your name, or maybe I'd heard your name before, but the first time I really associated it with something that meant something to me was when I started sniffing around trying to figure out where do I get these stinking tracking shoes, these scent shoes. And I asked some of the folks in my Michigan deer tracking network, and they said, "Here, get a hold of Darren Miner." And what I want to give you share my experience with the listeners, and I have touted this even on Facebook posts that you've been tagged in, but within, I think, 10 minutes of me sending you a message on Facebook Messenger, I had the shoes ordered. So my point to that is how responsive you were. You were immediately responsive. You walked me right through the do's, the don'ts, the whatnots, the Sasquatch size, and don't gorilla type, all of the stuff that you say. But my point is, you're
Yeah.
immediately responsive, and I had them in just a matter of days. Whatever that was. So that endeared me right away to. To you as just responsiveness, and I've touted that to several folks.
Yeah, I treat people like I would want to be treated, right?
Absolutely,
I'm
yeah.
still kind of the golden rule, right?
Yeah.
I'm kind of old fashioned that way. I like to talk to people. I like to tell them what to expect. If
Yep.
you are a size 12 or bigger, Sasquatch,
Yep.
that you're going to have toe box overhang in the front.
Yep. And you even sent me a picture showing that, showing an example of that.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yep.
I want people to be happy with what they get. That's the way I would want to be treated. I always have my phone on me. And if I don't get back to you within probably 15 minutes, it's probably for a decent reason.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
But I'm a firm believer in that. And, I'm always available, almost always my dog wants out.
Go feel free to let her out if you have to, Darren.
Nah, he's good. He's standing there looking.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm always available, almost 24/7. People can get a hold of me. And I think most people know that now.
Yeah.
I would like to think that they do. It's just the way I would want to be treated,
How many shoes do you think you sell a year?
Last year I sold 152 pairs.
Wow, 152 pairs. Jeez.
Yeah.
I know, I was thrilled to death.
And I know some people, may think they're a little expensive, and they may not be in everybody's budget, but I try to keep them as cost friendly as I can.
Yeah. I thought they were very reasonable when I bought mine 2 years ago. I thought they were very reasonable. They're a great shoe. I mean, heck, the ABTA, that's the shoe that they require using on their test lines. They have a standard for the shoes that must be used for the sake of consistency, as you well know. And it's the Wascow. So, and we've heard Kenny and Ralph and those guys talk about it on their live streams. And that, in fact, it came up on last night's live stream, Darren. They were talking about the Wascows and, the 400 tracks Kenny had on them and wore them out. And you gave them a new pair under warranty anyway, because they're listed in a year. So there's something to be said for that, that your relational way of doing business. It's a dying approach these days in a very transaction-based world. So an old gray beard like me really appreciates that relational approach and the do the right thing approach, as opposed to the the transactional, here's a link, order a new pair approach. Now, I'm not suggesting that a 10-year-old pair that they ran over with a lawnmower, that they should be getting a new pair. That's not what I'm getting at. But in the circumstances outlined, you're a very customer-centric, you take a very customer-centric approach, and that means a lot to me. And if it doesn't mean a lot to everybody else, then I don't know what would.
Right. Yeah. That's just my nature. That's the way I am. I have them listed on my website. We have a website, bloodtrackingdogsllc.com.
Okay.
Is our website. And I don't even sell them through the website, because I get messages just about every day. You can message me through the website, and I'll get the message, and they're like, I don't see the link. Well, there is no link because, one, I like to talk to the person if they are Sasquatch, so they know what to expect. Yeah. And they're just things I like to relay to them. And it just, I don't know. I that's the way I am.
Yeah.
I like the process. I think it's pretty easy. Don't be shy. Call me, text me, instant message me. I get it.
Yeah.
You know, email me, send a message through the website. I will respond.
Yeah, well, and I'll, like I said, I'll attest to that. And maybe it was longer than 10 minutes. It might have been all the way out to 15 minutes.
It just
from the
depends.
time.
Sometimes it's as soon as my phone dings. If I got my phone in my hand, which I guess the world we live in these days is a lot of the time, I will respond.
Oh, you responded well within that, because by the time I messaged you, I had already had them ordered and had Venmo'd you the cash
right
within that 15 minutes. That's my point. That is, if anybody expects any more responsiveness than that, they need to ground themselves in reality a little bit. I don't think anybody would. And my point is that I'm just endorsing your responsiveness, and that means a lot.
Right. And even early on, when I first started, I would send everything priority, 2 or 3 day priority. Shipping started going up, so I went to standard shipping. If somebody wants them, I had a lady that wanted them for Christmas, and we were getting down to the wire. This was like Thursday, and she needed them by like Monday. And I'm like, okay, never mind. Priority mail, they're gone. There you go.
Yep.
You got them. No extra charge, no nothing. It's on me. Whatever, a few extra dollars. There you go. Merry Christmas.
Yeah, and that speaks a lot to me. That, just like I said, an old gray beard who appreciates that approach. that means a lot, and I just in general. So, well, that's great. So, if you're looking for a pair of Waskow shoes, and for those that don't, the Waskows are they're the rubber shoes with the nylon straps. It's not the all aluminum shoes, the buck braids, the aluminum shoes with a hinged toe, which are very nice shoes too, by the way. But the Waskows are the rubber shoes. They're very effective. I love mine. The one thing, hey, I want to put this out there because I didn't realize it when I got them. That piece of padding that comes in there is intended to be used as a spacer for smaller hooves, right?
Correct.
I thought it was chippy foam or something, and I can't find them. I must have thrown them away. So if you're interested in the Waskow shoes, that carpet padding looking thing is there intentionally to be used as a spacer.
Yeah, you could, right, exactly, man. You can use with gigantic, like big buck gloves. You don't need it. I have a short video explaining some of this on my YouTube channel. But
okay.
But sometimes I use it, sometimes I don't. Sometimes it helps grip and hold the hoof in place. I saw somebody posted, which was actually a pretty good idea, to use rubber. They put some rubber in there to help hold it in place.
Okay.
You just got to be careful you don't over tighten the bolts, because if you over tighten the bolts, there's a nut inside the bottom of the shoe, a barrel nut, and you'll strip that out and it'll start to turn, or it'll poke through the side of the recess. You can still use the shoe, but you just want to be careful that you don't over tighten them. Which is a big, and I tell everybody, these are just these little intangible things that I like to tell almost everybody I tell when they buy them.
Yeah, and I can attest that is absolutely the conversation we had. I still have it in Messenger. I can go back to 2 years ago when you were telling me all of that stuff. So yeah, that's good stuff. I will tell you that I've never had a problem with them. I lost a hoof once when I cut the hoof too short. I cut it too short. Right. And then and all that did was just make it more challenging for my dog. So it turned out to be great. But that's it. And there was in one of the tracking Facebook pages, someone had posted a picture and the hoof was half out, and they were questioning it. And
I saw that.
Exactly what it was. Kenny replied, and others, and I did too. Oh, your hoof is just too short.
Right.
You need to cut it
Right.
just a little bit longer, or put the spacer in. The spacer may have been able to wedge it in there a little more, but yeah,
Yeah,
so
I mean they're not perfect. I'll admit it. I have no problem with they're not perfect, and there are some modifications that I think that the company could make to make them better. And I've talked to. It's a very small. When I say ma and pa, it's literally a ma and pa in Germany, and it's just not in their plans to change the design. So we kind of have to deal with what we have right now. But I think they're a solid shoe. If they weren't, then I wouldn't sell them or mess with them. Yeah, there are some things that could be improved a little bit, but you know, it is what it is. For the most part, no one has a problem that I know of, and I want feedback because I'll call the company and I'll tell them if hey, we got a problem with this batch. And we did have a problem with one batch about a year or two ago. And I warrantied out several pair, and I'm like, look, you got to do better. You got to make them better because this isn't cutting it. And we got through it, and they're good too. If they stand behind, I stand behind the guys and gals here stateside that use them every day. If they got a problem, call me. I'll do what I can to make it right. If it's something wrong with the shoe.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Darren, we had this weird, awkward 30-second disconnect there. So I'm glad that apparently it didn't interrupt you too much. But we were gone, but that's okay. I can chunk that out. But the bottom line is, if you are having issues with your shoe, Darren is going to take care of you. How's that, buddy?
Okay. All right. We're back in action.
We're back. Yeah, there we go.
I don't know what happened. Yeah.
We had this weird thing. I started, I had an internet issue on my side that took me down. I had to come back in, but it didn't interrupt anything. It was still recording, and then we got back hooked up, and then all of a sudden your sound went dead. So StreamYard and my end just goofed up a little bit. So we'll just pick up. I'll just chunk those 3 or 4 minutes out.
Yeah, You, by the way, you keep every so often your side on my end will blink. It just did it again. It'll flash, like go
really?
black, and then it just did it 10 seconds ago. But every so often you go black, and then it's like boom, black, and then back to screen.
That's really strange because I'm not getting any of that here on my end, and there's not any interruption at all.
Yeah, you actually just did it again. It just did it again. The whole time. It's like maybe a half a second. The screen goes black, and then you come back up.
Wow, that's strange.
I
guess if it's, I imagine it's a little annoying on your side, but as long as it's not.
I'm trying to look at the camera anyway, so I'm not looking at the screen. Yeah,
I got you. I got you. Cool. So we talked about the shoes a lot, and like I said, I'll edit it. That was really good discussion. Talk a little bit, Darren. Tell us about your YouTube page, your YouTube channel. I mean.
Yeah, sure. So, just another aspect of tracking where I thought I may have a little bit of entertainment to offer, maybe a little bit of knowledge to offer.
Yeah.
So I started out about 2 years ago. It's called Deer, Dogs, and Drones. Deer, Dogs, and Drones. And we have a lot of tracking videos. We have a lot of drone videos. I've got a tutorial on the scent shoes. Actually, a couple on the scent shoes. So it's just a little bit, it is what it is. It's deer, dogs, and drones. And it's doing pretty well. and I'm happy with it. And as long as people
Yeah.
keep wanting to watch, then I'll keep making videos.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, I've subscribed and I've subscribed to your page or follow your Facebook page too, and I enjoy them.
Oh,
I
thank you.
like to watch them. I like to watch them. A couple of AJ's, searches, and one of them wasn't a recovery, but they found it. And we'll talk
Right.
about that. We'll talk about the
Mhm.
difference there when we get into the heart of the conversation. But no, it's definitely
Sure.
worth watching. I'm going to go back now and look at that tutorial though on the scent shoes. It's not rocket science by any means, but that tutorial is good for somebody who hasn't used them before. I want to
Yeah.
just see it again. Yeah.
And
So.
usually, if somebody has never used them, never seen them, interested in them, they want pictures. Of
Yeah.
course, I have pictures. I'll send them the video link, and I think it
Yeah,
helps a lot.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
Quick
Absolutely.
overview of what they are, how they work,
Yep.
and that gives
Yep.
them a really nice picture.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, I love mine. I know that. So,
Good.
okay, buddy. Well, okay. So tell us a little bit about, we talked about, I guess you're in Maryland, you track in Pennsylvania a little bit. You had 58 dog tracks. How many drone searches did you and AJ have?
We did give or take 20, 25 drone searches this year. And it's another tool, it's another tool in the toolbox. I enjoy doing it. It's well, yeah, being an on leash tracker, it's a little bit of a break from
Oh, yeah.
going. I track with a wire hair dachshund from
Yep.
having to try to go through where a rabbit can go to watching a screen for a heat source.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Yep.
it's a nice break.
I can imagine. Yeah. Michigan's off lead now. And I did most of my season last year off lead, but the first 2 years and plenty of tracks last year on lead behind an 85-pound bloodhound. Believe it or not, they can go where a freaking rabbit can go too, and they don't care that you can't.
Right.
As a 53-year-old fat man,
yeah,
who's not very mobile, the 85-pound bloodhound don't care.
Right. And that's what I tell people. I can stop my dog. I can't stop an 85-pound bloodhound,
Yeah.
On lead. Yeah. You get tracker, what I call tracker ear, the bloody ears.
Oh, yeah.
Tracker face.
Tracker face, tracker shredded forearms.
Yeah.
Looks like you got in a fight with Edwards, tried to give a cat a bath or something.
Right. Yep. Right. Exactly. Right.
Yep.
Right.
So here we are. That what a perfect segue, Darren. So let's talk about dogs and drones.
Yeah.
And as I said, and I'm going to basically turn it over to you and get out of your way. But I'm interested. Most of the listeners who are trackers are going to be dog trackers. I'm sure there's going to be some drone people who listen to this just based on the title, and when we share it, it's going to garner some interest. It just does these days. But most people will be able to relate to the dog side, but I don't want to gloss over. I don't want to gloss over the dog side either. But just from a little bit of a selfish perspective, and I think from just helping people understand, I'm interested in some depth of detail of the nuances of drone operation. The rules, what's it take to become a drone pilot, because you've got to be less licensed by the FFA to do it, and what does that take? What the nuances of searching versus tracking, because that's you're a dog, you're tracking; a drone, you're searching. So I'm going to turn it over to you and get out of your way and let you start wherever you want to start. But you kind of have an idea.
Yeah, so I guess we'll start a little bit from the beginning. I saw a couple years ago, that drones were starting to come into the picture,
Yeah.
and it's a progress, right? And we didn't want to be left. Me and AJ didn't want to be left behind the eight ball, so to speak, because it just appeared that it was getting more popular, more
Yep.
popular. So you can either stay stagnant and be left behind, or you can adapt. So we
That's right.
adapted and we got a drone. Our first year, even though we both became certified drone pilots, didn't have a whole lot of experience or much of a clue. I don't think I'm an expert now, but we had somebody who did. We had somebody who did helping us, and he was a very good pilot. He had been flying a drone for years,
Mhm.
so we brought him onto the team, so to speak. That, in the same breath, he wasn't a hunter. He didn't
Okay.
know hardly anything about hunting, but he could fly a drone like no tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So we're like, okay, you're in. The first year, um, he did all of our drone flights, and we were one of us, AJ or myself, was with him, or sometimes both of us were with him because during the season, you get a track, you got to go.
Yep.
And we were able to learn a lot from him, and get some experience from him, for the first year. Flip the page, to, this is 23. Yeah, flip the page to 24.
Okay.
We decided that, we want to be a little bit more independent, and, there's no reason why we can't do it ourselves. So we jumped into it, spent the off season learning how to fly the thing, and then a lot of nuances with that, on technology,
Oh yeah.
um, and learned how to do it, and just kind of dove into it. But we saw the need that the where things were trending, right?
Yeah.
And look, I love my dog, and I'll never stop, with the dog till I decide to
Yeah.
retire or whatever. I mean,
Sure.
that's always my first preference. I'm a dog guy too, first choice. Um, but again, technology and progress,
Yeah.
you can't fight City Hall, right?
Yep. I've heard
On
that
some
before.
things, it's coming whether you like it or not.
Yep. You can't stop. You
Um,
can't stop technology. It's coming.
right, right. So we had the drone. We had someone helping us our first year. We dove in this year, started doing searches this year. Was pretty successful with it. Uh, it's different. I mean, watching it on a screen, if anyone's never, it's different. It just is between, if you see it on YouTube,
Yeah.
anywhere, my channel, the other big guys' channel, whatever, it's totally different than standing there in person, and
Oh, I bet.
seeing what you can see, with it. It just is. It's hard to. It's one of those things you have to experience to appreciate it.
Sure.
Um, and
Can I ask a question before I
Yeah,
forget?
jump in. Yeah,
You
yeah.
said something, I'm so sorry for I don't want to interrupt your flow, but I will forget this
No,
question. So you said something. You said you were pretty successful with it. And I'm
right.
curious, on the drone side, how you define success. I think by and large, most dog trackers are going to define it as a deer on a tailgate. Well, I got to be careful with that because I think dog trackers say we had a great track. It was a successful track, although it didn't end with a deer on a tailgate.
Yes.
We do that all the time. Some of the best tracks are non-recoveries from a dog work perspective, I guess. But we don't count it. Generally speaking, dog trackers don't count it as a recovery unless the deer is on a tailgate. I'm curious how you and AJ consider it. Would you consider a success a successful search from a drone perspective?
I think there's probably two thoughts on that. One is a deer on the tailgate. We treat the client makes the decision when the timing in the year is right. In other words, season starts here this year, 25, September 5th. If somebody calls me September 5th and says, I want the drone, I'm going to say, you're out of your mind. I'm coming with the dog, you know. Unless you tell me you're in some 50-acre, 4-foot-high CRP field, or cornfield for that matter. We find them in cornfields. Okay, it might be doable. But a closed canopy contiguous forest in the early season, contrary to what some of the drone guys say, extremely difficult.
It's not a flying X-ray machine.
Exactly. Right. It's not. It's not. It's very good, but it's a tool. So success, we use the same standard. Whether I'm coming with the dog or I'm coming with the drone, we still screen we screen fairly hard. You know, if we think we can get it with dog or drone, we're coming. Or recover. If we think we can recover it with dog or drone, we're covered.
Okay.
If we think there's no chance, then we're not coming. You see, I always say you put a drone in an experienced dog person's hand, that's unbeatable. That's unbeatable. That's the perfect situation.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I had a question brewing. So why is that? Why is a drone in an experienced dog person's hand unbeatable?
Because the dog man has been out there in the woods. He's seen the blood. He knows that, you know, he reads the dog's behavior. He's a woodsman. You know, he's a woodsman. He can read the sign. He can tell you, you know, from your pre-track interview, what, you know, if we think we're going to get it or if we're just doing a peace of mind track.
Yes.
Which I don't, AJ and myself don't like to do peace of mind tracks. We will if they're adamant with dog or drone. Because we want to go to the dead animal. So there's just so much more experience with an experienced dog person. It's the same thing. It's just a different tool. It's, you know, as opposed to the example I gave you earlier, the lights out drone guy that's never hunted. You know, you know, he may have flown a drone for 25 years. Has he ever tracked a deer? Does he know generally what a deer's tendencies are?
Right.
A wounded deer's tendencies?
Right.
You know, or is he just flying the drone zigzagging back and forth through the air and searching?
Looking for a white spot, or
looking for a white heat source. Exactly.
Yep. What was I going to say? That's exactly where I was going. I was going to ask you, God darn it.
I'm throwing a lot out there too, so sorry. And,
no. This is perfect. Go ahead.
A lot of dog people aren't going to want to hear this, but it's just the way that it is. Even if you hate drones or you don't want a drone or you lobby against them, it's another tool in the toolbox. You know, partner with somebody who does. That will make you damn near invincible as far as either finding the deer, recovering the deer, whatever. If you have no desire about drones, you don't care about them, you don't like them, you don't believe in them, well, you can't stop progress and you can't stop technology. You know, at least where I live, it's here, it's not going anywhere. You might as well partner with somebody, an experienced drone guy and an experienced dog guy, again, that's a deadly combination, man. If they can't find your deer, then it ain't dead. Here's a good example. I went on a call this year. A guy shot this deer right at dark, 20 yards, 30 yards, let's say, with a rifle. Says it ran over the hill. He heard it moaning, wheezing, all this stuff. So I'm like, okay, this sounds pretty good. Couldn't find a lick of blood. So I'm like, well, it's worth a track. Go out, put the dog on it, and nothing. He don't, he's going through the motions, just because I want him to.
Yeah.
So I spend a fair amount of time with him, and for, if I think we have a chance, and I'll do this for some clients, and I probably at times spend too much time, but I'll help look a little bit too. I'm like, look, let's just look. The dog's not feeling it, but I'll appease them. Let's look. Let's check this creek, whatever. So we looked a little bit, and we didn't find it. And the guy's like, yeah, I know, I hit it. Da, 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 da. So he calls a drone friend of mine. And the drone friend of mine, who I'm in the drone messenger group with, says, well, if Darren didn't find it, then I'm probably not going to find it. So he tells the guy, and I talked to the drone guy, ahead of time. And he's like, he wants me to come, and yes, the drone's charged, yes, but you guys, the hunter don't care. If the hunter has the means, he don't care.
Right.
He wants the deer. If it's no object, he don't care. So he wanted to come out. So he came out, and guess what? Didn't find the deer. Almost like, and I told you so, right? I told you so. If he didn't find it, then I'm not going to find it. So, yeah, even if you have noticed, because it's expensive, it is costly. You have no desire. Make friends with it. You'll get dog tracks out of it. One of the guys in the group said, and I didn't join the group until a little bit later in the year. He goes, man, I could have gave you a bunch of tracks at the beginning of the year when I wasn't flying.
Well,
I missed out on that. So, I mean, and it seems to be more, I don't know, I guess it goes both ways that I've seen, everyone just needs to loosen up a little bit,
I agree.
And, it's silly.
If our common goal is to help hunters, then yes, we need to find a way to have that collaboration, because you just said something that I thought that never connected, because we do know, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that there's animosity in some circles between the two. Right. This is just the reality of it. And but if you can build that relationship, because you're right, you're not stopping it, it's coming. I think there are certain barriers of entry for the drone, perhaps more so than a dog. But lottie-dottie, and everybody's getting a dog these days too.
I tell you this too, and I see it, and you see it. Well, I went behind the drone and found the deer, or a drone guy. I went behind two dogs and found the deer. Well, it's going to happen. People call me all the time, and when it comes the right time in the season, probably late October, early November, and as the season goes on for the drone, it gets better and better. People ask me, what's better? Neither. I tell them, neither is better. I tell them, okay, yeah, we might be able to do a little bit faster with the drone, but it's not better. It's just not. Neither is better, but it's another resource. We have a lot of swamps here. We have the Sika deer over on Maryland's eastern shore.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Darren ain't going in no swamp tracking no Sika deer with his 11-inch at the back. Wire-haired dachshund,
of course.
I will gladly throw a drone up in the air, and if it's in there, we should find it. That's how strongly I feel when it's Right. When it's right that time of year. If it's there, we should
Yep.
find it.
So timing matters, and timing, in terms of time of year matters, with
Right.
the drone. Whereas not with a dog. I mean, you can track
Yeah.
with a
No.
dog
Yeah.
no matter.
That is
With
any
the
time
drone,
of year.
it's a fact. It matters. So
Yeah.
I thought of my question, and now I have two. Um, the first one, going back, Darren, you're talking about that woodsmanship and the experience of tracking and understanding deer behavior and things like that. As a drone operator, if someone wants the drone, do you, before you fly, do you heed the recommended wait times we heed with dogs, or do you just go?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's the same. It's another tool. It's for me because I've been tracking, 5 full years. It's the same. Now, yes, there are people. Oh, hey, gunshot. I'll be there in 30 minutes. Well,
Yeah,
wrong answer. Um,
yeah,
you know,
because you
it,
want to find a dead deer, not a deer that is dying.
that's correct. The parameters for us are the same, whether it's a dog
Okay.
or a drone. I tell people all the time, if you call me tonight, I'll be there in the morning because I like to get sufficient wait times, whether it's a dog or a drone. Drone maybe you could go a touch earlier because of darkness and the heat and all that stuff, but
Yeah,
you're still giving it sufficient time. You have to, and I think that's where experience comes in. You see a lot of drone, not a lot, but some drone people that aren't hunters, that haven't killed a lot of deer, um, that may be in it for the wrong reasons, will
right.
go too soon. Will go too soon.
Yep.
And I'm not costing anybody their biggest deer, whether it's 110 inches or 180 inches.
Yeah.
It's the biggest deer to them, and I'm not going to chance it. We're going to
So
wait.
in Maryland, what are the rules on, you find the deer that is not dead yet? Maybe it's going to die. Maybe it's a back whack and not going to die at least any time. What are the rules in them being able to now go pursue that deer? What do you do? Do you give them the pin of their deer if it's a back whack, and are they allowed to go in right away? What are the Maryland rules and regs on that?
Pretty much none. It's pretty liberal here.
Really,
I
I'm a little
know.
surprised by that.
Yeah, yeah. There is no fly. And I was just because we do some in Northern Virginia. Virginia is 24 hours. If you fly, you have to wait, or the calendar day. So
Okay,
right. So you
okay,
should.
yeah,
Yeah. You have to wait a calendar day, I believe, or 24 hours before you can hunt again. Right. So you can't go. So
yeah.
if somebody shoots a deer in the morning and the conditions are right, to fly the drone with sufficient wait time, which would probably be the evening,
Yep.
at dark. You shoot a deer at 9 a.m. I'll see you at dark.
Yeah.
Wait time
Yep.
is number
Minimum 12
one.
hours, right? Yep.
Yeah. Um, and I have several videos on this, several, where we have found the deer alive but dying. Um, there is no. Yes, do we give them a pin? Yes. Yeah.
And
We
and,
tell
and
them where
legally they could say, "Oh, there it is," and then they can go in and put a stalk on that deer and shoot it.
they could.
Legally, they
They could.
could,
Yes.
and they could do
Yes.
that even if it was a non-lethal shot. I mean, they could, and it's that 180. There's your deer. He's nope. Yeah, I see you gave him a haircut, but he's bedded next to that big oak at these grid coordinates. Oh, this is the wind direction. They could sneak in from upwind and put the shot on that deer, and perfectly legal.
They could. Yeah. Yes. To answer that question, yes, they could. Do they? No, because not with us. Generally, I mean, I don't know what they do.
Yeah,
Generally, they don't. Without they,
yeah,
you're the subject matter expert, right? With the dog, with the drone, you know, you can say, and we tell them, you're not going after that deer tomorrow. It's laying there alive. It's dying, but don't you dare try to go get it, because if you do, it's gone. You'll never get it.
Yeah. Yep.
And you know, we haven't had anybody yet that I'm aware of that has, as soon as we left, went and tried to do something. They usually follow our recommendations.
Yeah. And I guess I didn't mean to, as I was reflecting on my question in my approach and hearing you respond, I realized that how that may have come across, and I didn't mean for it to. I just think about, you know, the one of the big things that are stalling states for making it legal is hunting deer with drones.
Right.
You know, and I guess that's kind of the angle I was trying to put it at, but not, and I didn't mean it to frame it as a as a gotcha moment or anything like that.
Will we hover the drone over a wounded deer and no, absolutely not. No way. Are we doing it? May some other drone? I don't know. I mean, but we do not. We will not. Do that. It's typically, you know, hey, there's your deer. He don't look good. I suggest that you wait till tomorrow morning, or you got to give that deer way more time. And you know, if we got to come back, we'll go back. If we have to go back, and we won't charge you to do that. You know, if it's within reason, you know,
of course,
you're 3 hours away. It's a different story, but we, you know, we go by the same. It's the same as if you jump a deer. You jump a deer where you're tracking it. You know, and I got a video on this. You know, I sat right down in the woods. I'm like, well, let's give it 30 minutes because the dog went nose to nose with it, and I think he's about done. You jump a deer, you have to gauge it. You know.
Yeah.
Does the deer get up at 5 feet, or does he get up at 100 yards? You know,
how
much life does he have left? You have to gauge, you know, how much more time you're going to give it. And it's the same with for us. I can speak for us. It's the same with the drone. We, you know, like, man, that thing looks good. It's or it's a shoulder shot. It ended up being a shoulder shot. You know, you know, you can forget about it because, you know, we're on lead. We can't bay and catch, and dispatch. So, you know, you're just going to have to wait. Keep your cameras rolling. Maybe you'll see them again because. You know, we can't. You know, we're limited. We have limitations. On what we can and cannot do.
Of course. Yeah. So thinking about the story you were talking about where you didn't, you know, Fritz didn't have any interest in the line. They convinced your drone buddy to come in. He said, I can't find it either. I told you. So have you found a deer with the drone that you didn't with the dog? Or found a deer with a dog that you haven't with the drone? Have you run into either of those circumstances yet?
Off the top of my head, we did one time this year. AJ was tracking. He tracked a considerable distance. And his dog was actually going to the deer. And he pulled the dog off. But he knew the deer was dead. From the pre-track interview, from the arrow, everything was pointing to this deer's dead. He went a long way. He pulled the dog off. So he went back over with that evening with the drone and found it. Not saying that the dog wouldn't find it. So that's kind of I think you're going to find that more in operator error on that one.
Yeah. Well, that's just what I was going to say. It's not that the dog couldn't have found it, because it sounds like. Did you do a video on that one? That sounds familiar to me.
Yes, I did. Yeah,
I saw that. I saw that video.
Yeah,
I saw that video, and I remember AJ being, "Oh, doggone, the dog was right," and he was proud that his dog was right, but he was disappointed that he pulled it off.
I think he going back. I think he did do that one time. I think he was tracking another one because he had to. We only have one, and he had to adjourn for the majority of the year. I think he did. He actually went back and forth. I think at least one time he started with the dog, threw the drone up, then he went back to the dog and found the deer. So it can go.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah. But to me, that's a testament of the power of both.
Oh yeah,
I mean, that
exactly.
was all within, and AJ handled all of that. It's not like, I don't know, I can't find your deer, and goes home with his,
right.
$150 or whatever, and then the guy calls another drone pilot to come in.
For us about having it too is if the dog's just not with it or not having a good day. Occasionally, it happens to everybody. I don't take multiple dogs with me. Some people do, and I don't switch. I can't go switch them out or whatever. We got the drone in the car. Hey, let's throw the drone up and see if we can find this thing. And then the hunter is thoroughly impressed when we can't find it with a drone. He's like, oh, okay, I guess it's still alive. And they no drone, to my knowledge, no drone search has called us back and said that, hey, I found it.
Okay.
So, and if we think it's there, I mean, and we can, we'll go out as far as we got a signal, and that's in our area, a mile, at times, if we think it's in there, we'll keep looking till, I mean, it's can be laborious, but we'll keep looking, and all that again is contingent on the pre-track interview. If we did dog track it first, what do we find? What's the hero look like? What did the deer do? So on and so forth.
Yeah, so you're treating you're getting all of the same information, you're requesting all of the same pictures, you're asking all of the same questions,
everything,
whether you're going to fly or follow.
Yes, and like I said, the early season, we don't even recommend the drone. We don't even recommend it because it's just it's not the right tool for the job at the time.
Yeah,
this time of year. Season's still in December, getting more or less, 3/4 of November. If it's laying there, we should find it.
Yeah.
I'm that confident we should find. If we can find squirrels, we should be able to find a deer. I
imagine.
We had one. I got a call this year. A guy called me. It was a little distance away, and he had shot the deer like a day and a half prior. So we're at 52 hours, right?
Oh, geez.
And and I'm like, man, I don't know, if we're going to find it with the drone, if you still are going to have a heat source or what. So I threw it out to the group, and one of the guys took it, he's got more years of flying experience with it and whatever. And he found the deer at 52 hours old with the drone. I was really surprised that he found it.
So that was going to be one of my questions is if you compare, a scent line with a heat source in terms of age, 24-hour scent line is no problem for a trained dog, and most generally, and I don't know if we really know what the outer perimeters are for a dog in the right conditions. I know one of my buddies recovered a legitimate track at 120 hours. It was a stone cold track. Good bloodhound, good scenting conditions. Not saying that Fritz couldn't have done it when I say bloodhound, but it's just he had a bloodhound. Right. Scenting conditions were pretty good. Some moisture, 120 hours, stone cold track. So we think of age of a line in scent dissipation versus age of a dead deer and heat signature dissipation. How what do you know? What are those parameters? Generally speaking. And I know ambient air temperature is going to play in that now.
It depends. I mean, I've heard tell of up to 72 hours with a drone, but
Okay.
I'm because I'm honest and I do charge and I'm realistic.
Yeah.
How do I know a coyote hadn't gotten to it?
Oh, for sure.
And
of
then
course.
now there's nothing. There's no heat. There's nothing.
Wow.
At that age, the older it gets, the less. It's the
Yeah.
same, the same. All again, kind of the same parameters with the dog. The older it gets, the little bit more like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, you have more time for the atmospheric conditions and the
Yeah.
ecosystem to erode the scent trail or to erode the heat signature.
Right.
You
But
know,
I can tell our oldest is 33 that we found one and it was glowing like a light bulb. And the other this year, it wasn't ours, it was someone in the group, 52. And
what
I
were
was
the
surprised at that. I was surprised. And it was
what were
coming
the
back.
ambient conditions?
It was cold. It was cold. And he actually showed me a picture. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it was hard to find. I think it would have been somewhat hard for me to find or AJ because it was faint. It wasn't like the light bulb
Yeah.
boom in the middle of the
Yeah, I
woods.
got you. Yeah, it was pretty subtle, huh?
It was yes, it was subtle, very yes. And but
Okay.
he found it, and I was surprised. I was really surprised at that one because I'm
Yeah.
like, well, if it don't have a heat source, then surely predation got it, and
Yeah.
then there's going to be nothing left.
Right.
So I declined, or we declined. The other guy took it and he found it.
How does I've heard that really bright sunshiny days can be detrimental
It
to
heats up everything.
just
Yeah, it rocks. Right. I mean, you got once you do it, you get the trained eye, right? Like
okay.
almost kind of like looking for blood. Yeah, that's blood. No, that's not blood.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the red berry. That's not blood. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
the dreaded red berry. Yeah.
Damn red berries, right? Winter
Yep.
berries. But yeah, once you do it, it's like anything else. You start to, you can tell. I mean,
Yeah. Okay.
sometimes it's like, there's your deer right there. I can see it, and we're like 400 feet. I'm like, there's your deer right there. But
Yep.
some the bright, hot, warm, sunny days, it can be challenging, because the sun heats up everything. Yeah, a lot. It heats up a lot. Trees.
Do you prefer to fly at night or do you not?
Night is the best. The night,
Yeah.
when it's cooling down, and in the evening time, yes, hands down.
And that's kind of really from a dog tracking perspective, nighttime is the best for the dog, maybe not necessarily best for the handlers who wants to see things like me, but conditions for the dog. Nighttime is best.
Nighttime, early morning for tracking, dog tracking. Yeah, that's good. Now I will say on a very cloudy day, if it's overcast, heavy overcast, it can be just as good as night. It can be just as good as night. It was cloudy and overcast today. I got a call for a missing dog. Of course, I don't have the drone in my hands. I didn't go on it, but I would have had no problem going out at 2:00 this afternoon looking for it because the conditions were right.
Yeah.
If it had been sunny and 80 degrees, I'm like, well, I'll be there at 9:00 tonight when everything cools down.
For sure, yeah. So I got another question, but I want to talk about the process to become licensed to fly a drone. But before we do that, how long have two questions. How long have drones been legal in Maryland? Or have they never been illegal? It's
so new. I think it's so new that they've not been illegal to look for deer.
There's no, like in Michigan,
Right.
There is laws that says, you know, the language is something to the effect of you're not allowed to use something that you know, a device that uses aerodynamic forces to take a deer, and
Right.
they consider recovering the deer, searching and recovering the deer as part of
It's
take.
part of the hunt.
Part of the hunt is part of taking the deer, and you
Right.
are not
Right.
allowed to
Right.
take a deer. So it's flat out illegal. Now that's debated in even, and you know, some degree ambiguous, but by and large that's the stance of the state. So they are
Right.
not legal here. So Maryland just hasn't had any language precluding it or including it. It's just not
That's
addressed at
correct.
all. So therefore, not illegal.
That's correct. That is
Okay.
correct.
Um,
And I've talked to, a couple people through the DNR, and I'm actually probably talk to a couple of them next month again. And so far, so good. Um, it's not been an issue here.
yeah.
I know other states, it clearly has, but here, nope, no issues at
Yeah.
all.
So I guess I have another question now before we get into the licensing and the process.
Mhm.
And since drones have become popular,
Mhm.
um, from a dog tracking perspective, have the non-drone deer trackers seen a decrease in tracks because of the increase in drones? Do you
I
know?
think I think I did a little bit this year. I did a little bit. And it's up I mean, yeah, I think I did a little bit. Um, like I
'Cause
said,
I know Missouri just legalized drones, and they say that they've seen a significant decrease in tracks. I know Ohio drones are legal, and you know, one of my friends in Ohio, I was talking to him this season, and he
mhm.
said that he's, you know, his tracks and just in general the dog trackers in Ohio, the tracks were down, and they attributed that to the increase in drones. So it you know,
Yeah, I mean, it gets diluted. It's going to get diluted, and it's
yeah,
going to keep getting diluted. That's why I say that come September, people will be calling for the drone, and I'm going to tell them no.
yeah,
If you befriend somebody who's a drone operator and they're honest, um, you should get those tracks as a dog person, right? I would
yeah,
think
right,
you would get them.
right,
Like I told you earlier, I'm in this group, and one of the guys, actually, one or
yeah,
two of the guys did later in the year, but it was too far. I have a guy basically right up the street from me. He's like, man, I could have given you a bunch of tracks earlier this year that I couldn't do with the
yeah,
drone.
yeah,
So that's why you gotta kind of come together or meet in the middle somewhere,
yeah,
and knock all this animosity
yeah,
out off, you know.
yeah,
And those that do promote it, they need to be just shut down. The
yeah.
animosity, I should say.
Yeah, I agree. So I just thought of another question before we get into the licensing side and the process to be able to do this is, and and I want to be very careful how I ask this question, and I want you to feel free to decline to respond. Okay, but
Mhm.
I don't think it'll be an issue for you without talking specific numbers.
Mhm.
What is the percent difference in cost for you guys between running your dog or flying your drone?
It's 100% difference. I mean,
Huh,
it's twice as much for the drone for
okay, there.
us. It's twice as much.
Yep.
Um, but
Okay.
for the hunter, I'm surprised because they'll straight up, I want the drone. Really? Yep, I want the drone. And there are circumstances. I had one. It was a guy was hunting in a suburban area. He's like, man, I don't know about. And he had the means. He didn't care. I don't know about walking around with the dog, and I want to be discreet. I got permission to be where I'm supposed to be, but I don't want to upset the neighbors. So on as it goes. I think the drone is the better option. Okay, we'll do the drone. Didn't find the deer and wouldn't have found it with the dog because I don't think he had it killed. But yeah, it's expensive. I mean, and some guy, look, we charge a flat fee. Again, it's going back talking about the shoes. I if this ended today, I would be fine, monetarily.
Yeah.
If it all ended right now, I would be no worse for that. I'd be happy. Some people rely on the income, and that's a problem. In my opinion, that's a problem if you're relying heavily on the income. But it is, the going rate of what the trackers that do charge in my region as to a drone is double the price. Is the price.
Is that pretty consistent between the other drone operators in the state?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So just in general,
I mean, they know because if they want to do something crazy, then they'll shop.
Oh, of course.
They shop. They shop with dog people. They shop with
we absolutely. Yeah, we get price shoppers all the time.
Now, I will say, for us, it's expensive, but I have to. The drone costs as much as a used car, right? I have to insure that. I have to have liability insurance. If my drone crashes into a family driving down the road, which you're not supposed to fly over people, but you have a runaway drone and an accident happens, you better have insurance.
You better have insurance,
and that's not cheap. That's not cheap.
Yeah, and I believe me, I'm not finding fault or didn't mean to set it up, but I was just curious because generally the general conversations and drones are expensive. I mean, I've never called a drone. I don't know, and so I just was curious. Just
and some people take advantage of it. I mean, some people will charge, it's X amount for me to come out, and then X amount for mileage, and then X amount if I find your deer. I mean, come on, man. That's
everybody has their pricing model. Yep.
Right. You're getting crazy, and then that tells me you're kind of starting to rely on the income. And if you got to rely on the income from dog tracking or drone searching, maybe you should get a part-time job.
I got to tell you that's more stuff that I want to manage. I don't want to have to sit there and run a formula to figure out what to charge somebody, and I don't charge anyway. But you know what I'm saying. I'm not going to. Yeah. It's too hard.
Right.
I want.
That's why we do charge with the dogs. We do charge with the drones. And it's both a flat fee. It's flat. I don't care if you give me extra. That's on you. I don't. I've given money back. I'm like, man, don't pay me too much. You're giving me too much money. I like doing this too. Here,
I've done the very same thing.
Take this back. So every situation's different.
Of course. Yeah. I'm a terrible businessman, and my wife kind of gets after me because, I always, I do it for tips, and people give me tips, and my approach is, I think it's rude to count the money in front of them if you're doing it for tips. I never do it. I just say thank you and I put it in my pocket. But sometimes if that feels a little thick, I'll ask them. I say, wait a minute, how much is here? And I said, no, that's too much. I try to give it back and they refuse. I was like, look, I'm not going to fight you, but I want you to know I'm not expecting this. It's too much. Would you like? I was like, this is your last chance. But,
right.
Yeah, I've done that several times, and that's just I'm just a bad businessman because I just don't. I feel funny taking people's money for that,
Right. But
I appreciate those that do tip. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, of course.
I generally appreciate it, and you know, thanks to dog tracking, I've got two new tires and
Right,
two new tires and brakes on my Harley. So you
right,
know,
right,
you know, which isn't all that much money, but it's enough.
right. Exactly, exactly.
Um,
Yeah, it's you know, if you're, I mean, if you're in it for money, then oh man, it's not for you. It's not.
I tend to agree with that. You know, I find zero fault with those that who do charge, none whatsoever, because
Right,
it is effort. It is. I mean, you do it. Most of my tracking friends uh, do charge, and appropriately so.
right.
Absolutely
Yeah,
appropriately so, because it's an effort, man. We're putting ourselves out there. We're pouring, you know, and not just September through January. You know,
hmm,
it's the off season with
it's
the
year
training.
round.
It's
It's
the,
year
you
round.
know,
I mean,
to be on top of our game. You know, it's work. So, and we're putting a lot of miles on the car. You know, or the truck.
yeah,
You know, there's
absolutely.
there's the unexpected vet bill because you cut herself on the barbed wire or something like that. You know, so there is
Hmm.
zero problem with tracking, or I mean with charging. I just
Right,
don't yet. Will I? I don't know. I don't know,
right,
but I just
right,
don't yet.
right. To each their own, you know.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the old classic conversation: whether you charge or not, or whether or how much you charge, does not dictate the skill and ability of the team.
That's right.
There is no correlation there.
That's right. There's zero.
Yep.
That's right.
So, all right, I've told you I was going to ask this 1,000 times, and I've asked 100 other questions. What
That's fine.
So walk through. I'm interested in the process, the you know the test and the requirements and all of the FFA federal FAA
Yeah.
regs and stuff.
Yeah. So it's really on the intent. What is your intent? You know,
Okay.
do you intend to get compensated? So if you do it for compensation, which almost everybody does, you have to be a FAA Part 107 drone pilot or UAW unmanned aircraft pilot.
Okay.
So you have to take an exam. It's a 100-question exam, and you got to get a 70 on it, 70% to pass.
Okay.
So,
That's
I mean, so
yeah.
you
That
do got to put a little, like a guy like me, I had to study for it.
yeah. Oh, sure.
So you got to put a little bit of effort into it, and it costs. I think it's about 175, 165, 175 bucks to take the test.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
it's not free. Yeah, it's not free. And unless you have some kind of aeronautical background, you know, you have to know airspace, weather. I mean, you have to know, I guess, a very beginner pilot level information. I'm not a pilot, so I don't know what they know, of course, but
Yeah,
it's
but
you know
yeah,
you know for the testing you have to know how to read some charts,
okay,
um,
okay,
and so on and so forth. Weather is big, airspace is big. So I guess you right for a pilot, it'd be like a good overview, maybe. I don't know.
yeah,
I've
yeah.
never been a pilot, had a pilot's license, but I'm sure a pilot could just walk in there today and pass it.
Well,
An airplane pilot or whatever could do it.
my
Um,
guess is, and it's a total guess, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Part 107 is just a subset of
it
the
is.
full.
It's basically so the regular pilots
Yeah,
have already learned the 107 stuff. I think it's part of their curriculum. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
I think it's probably, you know, down here, lower elementary basic stuff
Yeah,
until
it's
they get to more.
098 level or something.
I'm sorry.
098 level instead of 202 or 4. You know.
You broke up a little
it's
bit. You cut out again, but
oh, I'm sorry
um,
about that. Yeah.
but yeah, I think all the pilots already know the 107 stuff. So you're basically getting just I don't know, the very rudimentary, bare bones,
the ground
type
level
stuff.
stuff. Yep.
Yeah. Maybe a touch into like reading charts and stuff like that, but still, that's still pretty, basic. It's not like you could take a 107 and go fly a plane. By no means.
Oh yeah. I think you're probably
You
a long
know.
ways away from that. Sure.
But if you can already fly a plane, those guys probably have no problem with the 107. It's a brush up or whatever.
I would imagine so. Where do you go to take your Part 107? You don't run down to the DMV, do you?
No, they have designated locations, around the country, approved testing facilities.
Okay.
You have to go to, and it's all computer. Like I said, you have to score a 70% to pass.
Okay.
And I mean it's somewhat a little bit like that, but it's not at the DMV. It's at a testing facility where they're testing for all kinds of other stuff, like probably DOT, and it's whoever has the contract with FAA to do the testing.
I got you. Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? So you talked about airspace. What? You're in Maryland. You got some pretty important things going on in that state.
We have a lot. Yeah, we have a lot. It's every time. So any drone pilot for that matter, they have apps, right? Legitimate apps. You can check airspace. So if you give me a call and say, hey, I'm at 123 Main Street, I'm putting that into my app to see if I can even fly there. We get calls and we're like, nope. You gotta get dog. I know you want the drone, but we cannot fly there. Absolutely not. So there are all kinds of apps you can use and plug that address in or that location and see if it's clear to fly based on flight restrictions, airspace, temporary flight restriction. It's just a whole bunch. But yeah, being here in Maryland, I mean,
you probably get temporary stuff all the time there, depending on who's in town.
I mean, there are parts that we can't. Camp David is here, not far from me. That's really close. Forget it. That you'll never fly there. DC is just right down the road. In the counties, parts of the county surrounding DC, forget you'd never fly there. And sometimes at an extent, you're like, man, why is that? You would on the outer, why is it so restricted? Well, it is for a reason, and you can't. Yeah. So yes, there's a lot of restricted airspace, and then sometimes it's temporary. If someone's the president's going to Baltimore. So VIP's going to Baltimore, they're probably going to shut all Baltimore County down as well. So they'll go a big area, a temporary flight restriction. Well, it happens to be today that someone kills 180-inch deer, but guess what?
Or at least thinks they killed 180-inch deer.
Can't fly. Sorry.
Yeah. And those apps, are they updated? I mean, immediately?
Most of them, I think we use Aloft is what ours is called. They're updated. They're affiliated with the FAA, so you can go right. Yeah, so you can go. Some of them are. So you can go right on there and look and see, and you can request. We haven't had to do it yet. Sometimes you can request to go and fly. We haven't had to do that yet. Generally, if it's red, we're not bothering with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, because you do have another source. You can put the dog on it.
Yes, exactly. Right. Exactly.
I wouldn't argue it either.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Say, well,
or
what's
or
going on?
or apply for whatever
A
you would
waiver.
do.
You can apply for a waiver
Yeah,
sometimes.
I
Yeah,
would
and
do that
get a
either.
waiver, but we just, man, we can't do it. We'll put the
Yeah,
dog on it. And they're happy with that because, like I said, we use the same criteria. We use the same
yeah,
criteria, whether it's dog or drone.
yep,
Not, hey, I shot it 2 hours ago. Come and find it. Well, hold on. Let's take a minute and talk about this.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so that's where a
What?
dog person put a drone in the hands of a dog person.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep, yep. Yeah, I've always said someone with a trained dog and knows how to has the right drone and knows how to use it.
right,
That is there is no better combination. I don't know what you could possibly do that's better.
right. You're right. No, there's not. There's just
Yeah,
not.
yeah. What type of drone are you flying?
We have a DJI M30T. It's a
Okay.
thermal drone.
Yep.
So someone asked me a while back, do you need a thermal? Well, a drone without a thermal is like taking a leash to a track without a dog.
That's a great analogy. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. Yeah.
You have to have the thermal,
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
which increases the cost, the price. It makes them, they're pricey, expensive.
Well,
But
I mean,
yeah,
you said it. They're the price of a used car.
yes, yeah, they are.
And we're not talking about the 2004 Buick Regal. We're
Right.
used car with 187,000 miles. We're talking about the 2017 Toyota Highlander or whatever
Yeah,
with
yeah. I mean,
50,000
I,
miles.
I mean, to get just not even any appurtenances. If you just, the basic drone that you need, it's going to cost you 10 grand. And that's not
Okay.
everything. That's not everything. That don't even include insurance. Now, some insurance comes with it, but then you still need liability insurance. So,
Yeah.
in my opinion, it's going to cost. I mean, there are others. Yes, you can get into it for cheaper. Maybe 5 or 6. Just depends.
With thermal?
Some of them I think are, but
Wow.
I've
That
got,
surprises me.
even that's pricey. But if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm not
Well,
gonna.
yeah. Well,
Um,
especially if you're doing it, you're offering it as a billable service, so to speak. If you're going to do it to that level, you probably should be having the best equipment to offer the best opportunity to provide the best
yes,
service to the hunter.
right, and that's not even all in. I mean,
Oh yeah,
that's
yeah.
just getting the basic package. There was it's funny, a known tracker. We were talking to him. He got a drone, or he was getting a drone. He talked to AJ. Well, he was getting this drone. He got our drone. After talking, he's like, "Oh no,
Oh
I'm getting this drone because it's got just so much
yeah,
more options, bells, whatever. It's what you need
yeah.
to get the job done
To get the job
proficiently.
done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Is there? Did I see an article or something about a potential ban on the DGIs or some kind of what? Do you
yeah.
know
They
anything
were.
about that?
I've kind of loosely been following it. I think a
Okay.
lot of the government agencies may not allow it. You may have to go to an alternative because of the Chinese thing. I think it's like the TikTok thing. The government phones. If
Oh,
you work for the government, you better not have TikTok on your phone, right?
that's the root
Um,
of it. I see.
so
Okay.
so I think it's similar to that. They were trying an all-out ban, which I don't. I follow a couple other drone groups loosely,
Hmm.
and to my knowledge, not yet, not yet. And I mean, the drone that we have is the best drone for the job.
Yeah.
So
Well, hopefully they don't pass some legislation that would prohibit you from being able to use that.
yeah, then we'd have to do something else for sure. Yeah,
And
we would definitely.
maybe it's just a go forward thing. I skimmed a very high level very quickly the article, or maybe I just read the headline or comments or something. I don't know. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
like I said, I've loosely followed it a little bit, until they say, it's all over the news or whatever, then I'm going to really pay attention and see what
Yeah,
I have to do. I think
yeah,
it's just mostly, I think, the government stuff.
yeah.
They're saying no, whatever.
Right, right.
Um,
Okay. I'm looking at my notes.
Cause,
I think we touched on all the stuff I had written down here, Darren. What? Oh, geez, I forgot. So
yeah.
what haven't we touched on that you think is worth mentioning, or what do you want to go back and revisit?
I,
Fun stories.
I just think that, you know, dog people and drone people need to come together and just, it's not good. They're not leaving, so, oh, my state will never allow it. Well, I bet they will sooner or later.
Yeah, yeah.
It's technology, man. You just can't stop it.
Well, what's going to happen? Well, if anybody of a certain age, and I put you and me in that category, you realize that the guy with the biggest checkbook in this in the sharpest looking sports coat in front of the suit jacket in
Mhm.
front of the in front of the lawmakers typically wins. You typically ends up getting what he wants, and
Right.
there's
And
probably not too,
and there's,
uh,
I mean, are people going to abuse it? Oh yeah. Oh, you bet they will.
absolutely.
You bet they
Yep.
will. But it's human nature, right? What don't we abuse as humans?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only some
Yeah.
sub factor, some
Yeah.
section that will circumvent something or get around something, or
100%.
it's human nature. Just
100%. Yep. Yep.
the good people always tend to outweigh the bad, and the bad, it catches up to them sooner or later.
Yep.
But if I could stress, just one thing, man, even if it's coming, and I know I watched the thing on Missouri, and they said they felt that they were losing a lot to drone operators. Befriend one, then befriend one, work together. Um,
Yeah, I guess that's probably my biggest takeaway here because it's coming in Michigan. The big name guy that you referenced in a
mhm.
very appropriately ambiguous way a while ago here.
Right.
Um,
He's all over. He's all
he's
over
all
it.
over, and he's suing the state of Michigan because he believes his First and 14th Amendment rights. I think it's 14th, but First Amendment rights have been violated because he can't operate his business in the state. So I don't know where that's going to land. I mean,
Right.
it's progressing. I don't know if it's going to land, but I think it's probably a matter of time in Michigan before it comes illegal. Is that 10 years or is that 10 months? I don't know, but
Who
I'm sure
knows?
it's coming.
Yeah. Just
I mean, I'm,
prepare
I'm not I'm
yourself.
not wishing for it. I mean, I will tell you. I
Right.
mean, I'm
Right.
I'm,
Sure.
I'm way good with them not being legal. Um, But if they become legal, well, okay, they're legal now, and
Right.
it's going to be
Right.
what it's going to be. And maybe I'll get one. Maybe I'll befriend, one. And I start to say that's my big takeaway. Build an alliance with your drone guy because he can't do it for the first 6 weeks of the season anyway. Maybe
Yeah. If he gets calls, and if he's honest, and he'll say, "I can't do that, but I got someone who could come out with a dog,
yep,
give you a hand."
Yep. Yep.
Um,
And that reminds me. I was going to bring this up earlier. I talked. We talked about finding one with the drone after a dog. You know, well, that doesn't mean the first dog didn't find it. Dog trackers all the time call for backup, call for
oh
another dog to
yeah,
come in and back them up, and that second dog might find the deer. So
right,
that doesn't mean that the drone was better than a dog. It just means that
correct,
the drone found it and the backup dog may have found it too. Dog one may have been not feeling well that day, or maybe who knows what. Maybe the scenting conditions from the first dog to the second dog changed to where they're better for the second dog by the time dog two got there.
right,
So again, that happens all the time in the dog tracking world. So just because the drone came in, consider the drone the second dog. The second dog might have done fine, maybe not. I don't know, but that's just kind of how I meant to bring that up when it was the topic of the moment, but
right.
but I got sidetracked from it. So yeah, that's but I agree with you. Befriend somebody. That's going to be my takeaway.
Right. Yeah. If you
You
don't want
know,
to do it, fine. But you, you can't stop it. I mean, I don't see it. I mean, look at, we're about the same age and, look at stuff, how
yeah.
technology has progressed, you know.
Yeah, you're not stopping it. It's here, and technology just it's coming faster and faster these days.
Yeah, you can't keep up. Yeah, you can't keep up.
If you can't resist it, if you resisted technology, we would still be going to work in a horse and buggy.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
silly to think that we're going to. We still wouldn't be, although the moon was 50 years ago or whatever, we wouldn't have people in outer space.
I've learned more. I tell people it's kind of funny. I've learned more in my last 5 years than I did my first 50.
Yeah, yeah,
About technology.
yeah,
Um, it's
absolutely. It's
it's
coming. You don't have to like it, but you better find a way to live within it, whether it's dog tracking and drone searching or otherwise.
right.
It's just you can't stop progress, man.
No, you can't. I mean, it's I don't know. You're always going to have diehards on both sides, but I don't know. Have an open
Yeah,
mind,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I better start saving get my DJI drone savings account set up because it's coming, and hopefully I've got 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 years to save up for it. But
Right.
I think they're cool as can be, man. I think it'd be
Ah,
so fun to have one.
they're a wonderful tool.
I,
They
I
are a
have I
wonderful
have
tool.
a group of friends in our network who have been mentors of mine in the dog tracking world. They have one. They have their a little thing going unrelated to deer recovery, but
Hmm.
I talk to those guys and I have nothing but the greatest respect for them because they're the right people doing the right things for the right reasons.
Hmm.
A
I
lot
mean,
of
you
pet
have
recovery is their thing right now.
4,
Livestock.
5, 6 well-known trackers that have been tracking longer than I ever will. That they have drones. They have drones. They might use them sparingly, but
Yep.
I know them.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
They have a drone. I know they do.
Yep. Yep.
So I mean, but I can appreciate if somebody just wants to dog track or,
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
yeah, yeah. I think it more comes from the other side. You got these newcomers in that think they know everything just because they have a drone. I could see where that could come into play, especially if a younger person, like I said, that we had with us that doesn't
Yes.
hunt, that doesn't know a lot about deer.
No.
So I could see where
No.
that could rub some people the
Yeah.
wrong way. And if
Yep.
they just
Oh, for
humble
sure.
themselves and
Yep.
you know your limitations, It'll all be good.
Yep. Yep, for sure. Well, Darren, look, I got to tell you, buddy, we're up against it here. I
Okay.
can't tell if that's 43 or an hour 48 minutes, but nonetheless, I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
well, we had 5 or 6 minutes of that weird little downtime there that I'll check
Yeah,
out.
yeah,
But
yeah.
nonetheless, I really appreciate you coming on, man. And
Oh, it's my
this has been a
pleasure.
fun conversation. We'll certainly stay in touch. And if you have I'm always looking for something fun and cool to talk about. So if you ever, you or AJ have a story you want to tell or something you want to share, oh man, please reach out to me, buddy, because I'd love to set something up and have a conversation. I'll be sure that I continue to send people looking for scent shoes your way, and yeah, absolutely. And followers, please go to let me look at this. Blood Tracking Dogs in Maryland. That's your tracking service. You can go there and then go to Michigan, or not Michigan. Good Lord, Maryland Blood. No. What am I looking for? What's your YouTube?
My YouTube, if you want to see a lot of these scenarios or situations that we've talked about, and you can see how we handled them firsthand. Deer, dogs, and drones. Deer, dogs, and drones.
There it is. Deer, dogs, and drones.
A lot of what we talked about. I mean, it's real life. It's there.
It's right there. Yeah.
If most people know how to get a hold of me for the shoes, instant message me on Facebook is always a good way. Or you could go through the website, bloodtrackingdogsllc.com is our website that we have. You can't buy them through the website, but you can get a hold of me through the website if need be.
Yeah, that sounds good. And if I remember, I'll try to throw links in the description.
Oh, thank you.
The Blood Tracking Dogs LLC.
Mm-hmm.
I got to write this down. LLC.com. Okay, cool. Well, buddy, I really appreciate it, man. It's been a fun conversation. I hope somebody can get a morsel or two out of it. Listeners, please go to Darren's YouTube page and his Facebook page and follow. You will be entertained and intrigued by the content there for sure. I promise you that. And it's not just drones; it's dog tracking too.
No, I have a lot of dog stuff.
You got a lot of dog tracking stuff there. Yep. I watched one the other day, one of Fritz's finds, and that's always fun too. So guys, check it out, Darren. I really appreciate it, my friend. We'll stay in touch, and great conversation. I really enjoyed it, pal.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Bye-bye.
It's a tracking hound, cool for morning with dew on the ground. We done found the deer with a tracking hound. We done found the deer with a tracking hound.